What if I told you that everything you've been taught about success, about hard work, about pushing through and never giving up, is actually holding you back? What if the very thing you've been doing your entire life, the gripping, the forcing, the obsessing over every single detail, is the exact reason why you feel exhausted, stuck, and far away from where you truly want to be? You've been running on a treadmill, sweating, panting, giving it everything you've got, and yet you're not moving an inch. And the worst part, you didn't even realize the treadmill wasn't plugged in. This isn't going to be another one of those videos where someone tells you to just think positive and everything will be fine. This is going to hit differently, because what I'm about to share with you has the power to flip your entire world upside down in the best way possible. It's going to make you question every late night you spent overthinking, every moment you wasted trying to change someone who didn't want to change, every tear you shed over a plan that fell apart. And by the time you reach the end of this, you won't just feel lighter. You'll feel like you've been carrying a weight you never needed to hold in the first place. So stay with me, because this isn't just a video. This is a reset button for your mind. Let's start with something that might sting a little. You are not in control. I know that sounds scary, maybe even offensive, because you've spent your whole life believing that if you just plan hard enough, work hard enough, and never let go, you can bend the universe to your will. But let me ask you something. Have you ever tried to hold water in your closed fist? The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away, right? That's exactly what you're doing with your life. You're clenching so hard that you're crushing the very thing you're trying to protect. The ancient Stoics, those wise souls who walked this earth centuries before us, they figured something out that most of us are still struggling to understand. They realized that suffering doesn't come from the things that happen to us. It comes from our desperate, white-knuckled grip on how we think things should be. Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled an empire and could have had anything he wanted, wrote to himself in his private diary that fighting against reality is like fighting against the tide. You can scream, you can push, you can exhaust yourself, but the tide will do what the tide does. And the only person you're hurting is yourself. So here's the first shift you need to make today. Stop treating your life like a machine that you have to fix. Start treating it like a river that you have to learn to swim in. You don't control the river. You control how you move in it. Now let's talk about something that's probably eating you alive right now. Your obsession with the outcome. Be honest. When was the last time you did something just for the love of doing it? Without calculating, without worrying about the result, without asking yourself if it's going to pay off. If you can't remember, that's a problem. Because what you're doing is you're making your happiness a hostage. You're saying to yourself, I will be happy only if I get this job, only if this person stays, only if I hit this number. And what happens when you don't? Your world crumbles. Epictetus, another brilliant Stoic, once said something that cuts straight through the noise. He said, we don't suffer because of what happens. We suffer because of our attachment to what we want to happen. Read that again. Your pain isn't coming from the outside. It's coming from the inside. It's coming from a demand you made to the universe that it didn't agree to. Think about an artist who is so terrified of criticism that they can't even put a brush to canvas. They're paralyzed. They're not creating. They're not flowing. They're stuck in a prison of their own making. But the moment that artist decides, I don't care if this is good or bad, I just want to paint, something magical happens. The fear disappears, the hands move freely, and the work becomes alive. That's the secret. That's the door you need to walk through. You have to start caring more about the act of doing than the reward of getting. Because the reward, when it comes, is just a bonus. The real treasure was always in the journey. And speaking of journeys, let's address the elephant in the room. Your mindset. You've been told 1,000,000 times that you need to think positive, but nobody ever told you what that actually means. It doesn't mean ignoring your problems. It doesn't mean slapping a fake smile on your face when everything is falling apart. It means choosing, in every single moment, how you're going to interpret what's happening to you. Here's the truth. Life is going to throw punches. Some days you'll feel like you're on top of the world, and other days you'll feel like the world is sitting on top of you. But the difference between someone who breaks and someone who bends is not luck. It's not genetics. It's not money. It's the story they tell themselves in their own head. William James, a man who studied the human mind deeply, once said that the greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. That's it. That's the weapon. And it's already in your hands. Imagine you're at work and you mess up. Your boss is angry, you feel small, and you want to crawl under your desk and disappear. You have two choices. You can say to yourself, I'm a failure. I'll never get this right. I'm not good enough. Or you can say, I made a mistake, and mistakes are part of learning. This moment is painful, but it's teaching me something I couldn't have learned otherwise. Which version of you do you think is going to survive? Which version do you think is going to thrive? The one who crumbles under shame, or the one who stands up and says, I'm still here, I'm still trying, and I'm getting stronger? Seneca, another Stoic giant, compared this to lifting weights. Nobody builds muscle by lifting feathers. You need resistance. You need pressure. You need struggle. That's what makes you strong. So the next time life pushes you down, don't waste your energy crying about the fall. Use that energy to figure out how to get back up. Your mind is a garden, and every thought is a seed. If you plant fear, you grow fear. If you plant doubt, you grow doubt. But if you plant courage, clarity, and calm, that's what will bloom. Now, here's something that makes people really uncomfortable. Patience. Nobody wants to hear about patience anymore because we live in a world that gives us everything instantly. Food in 5 minutes, movies in 2 seconds, answers in a single click. We've been spoiled. We've been conditioned to believe that if something takes time, it's broken. But nature doesn't work that way. A tree doesn't grow overnight. A baby doesn't become an adult in a week. The most beautiful things, the most valuable things, the things that actually last, they all take time. And you, my friend, are no different. Epictetus said that no great thing is created suddenly. Do you feel the weight of that? No great thing. Not a little thing. Not a mediocre thing. A great thing. And great things require patience. They require trust. They require you to keep working even when you can't see the results. Think about a young musician who plays in empty rooms for years before anyone notices. They could quit. They could give up and say, this is pointless. But the ones who don't, the ones who keep playing, they eventually fill stadiums. Not because they were lucky, but because they trusted that every silent night, every rejected application, every empty seat was preparing them for something bigger. So stop looking at the clock. Stop counting the days. Start making the days count. Trust that if something is truly meant for you, it will come. Not because you forced it, but because you were ready for it. And if it hasn't come yet, maybe it's because you're still being prepared. Maybe the delay is the protection. This brings us to something that might change how you move through the world. The difference between chasing and attracting. Have you ever noticed how desperate energy feels? It's like a hungry dog begging for scraps. It's uncomfortable. It pushes people away. It closes doors. But calm confidence. That's different. That's magnetic. That's the energy that makes people want to be around you. Opportunities want to find you. And life itself seems to say, oh, you're ready, here you go. The Stoics knew this. They knew that action taken from a place of desperation is usually the wrong action. It's reckless. It's sloppy. It's based on fear, not wisdom. Epictetus said to first say to yourself who you want to be, and then do what you have to do. That's the key. Get clear on your identity first. Then act, not before. Most people do it backwards. They act without knowing who they are, and then they're surprised when they feel lost. Think about 2 people applying for the same job. One is desperate. They're applying everywhere, anywhere, just hoping for a yes. Their resume is messy, their interview is nervous, and they look like they're begging. The second person knows exactly what they bring to the table. They apply to 1 or 2 places, they craft their message carefully, and they walk into the interview like they already have the job. They're not arrogant, they're just secure. Who do you think gets hired? It's not luck, it's alignment. The same goes for relationships. When you need someone to validate you, you suffocate them. When you're complete on your own, you attract them. It's a paradox, but it's also the truth. So ask yourself right now, what are you chasing? What are you begging for? What if you stopped? What if you took a breath, got clear on your values, and started moving from a place of purpose instead of panic? You'd be surprised how fast things change when you stop needing them to change. And this naturally leads us to the big one, letting go of control. This is the scariest thing for most people, because we've been told from childhood that we have to manage everything, fix everything, predict everything, or we'll fail. But the truth is, you can't control other people's feelings. You can't control the economy. You can't control the weather. You can't control the past. You can't control the future. You can control exactly one thing, your own mind. That's it. And when you finally accept that, something shifts inside you. You stop fighting battles that aren't yours to win. You stop wasting energy on things that will never obey you. You become free. And freedom, as Epictetus said, is the only worthy goal in life. It's not about giving up. It's about giving up the illusion that you were ever in charge. Have you ever tried to change someone you love? Maybe you wanted them to be kinder, more understanding, more ambitious. And no matter how much you begged, pleaded, or argued, they stayed the same. That's because they're not your project. They're not your responsibility. Your job is to love them or leave them, but never to fix them. And when you release that need to fix, you release yourself from a prison of frustration. It's like sailing. You can't control the wind. You can't control the waves. But you can adjust your sails. You can steer your boat. And you can trust that even if you don't reach the exact port you planned for, you might find a better one. Marcus Aurelius wrote that fate leads the willing and drags the reluctant. In other words, life is going to happen anyway. You can flow with it or fight against it. But fighting just makes you tired. So surrender, not to defeat, to trust. Trust that you're capable. Trust that you're strong enough to handle whatever comes. And trust that sometimes the best thing you can do is nothing at all. Now let me ask you a deeper question. How do you see the world? Do you see it as a place of scarcity, where there's never enough love, never enough money, never enough time? Or do you see it as a place of abundance, where there's more than enough for everyone? Because the way you answer that question is shaping your entire reality. If you believe the world is empty, your mind will find proof of that emptiness everywhere. You'll see competitors, not collaborators. You'll see obstacles, not opportunities. And you'll live your life like a beggar, always reaching, always grasping, always afraid. But if you shift to a mindset of abundance, everything changes. You stop comparing yourself to others because you realize their success doesn't take away from yours. You start feeling grateful for what you already have, which ironically attracts more of what you want. Epictetus said that true wealth is not about having great possessions, but about having few wants. Think about that. It's not about getting more. It's about wanting less. It's about being content with who you are and what you have right now. And from that place of contentment, you can move forward without anxiety. Imagine two people at a party. One is scanning the room, feeling insecure, wondering what everyone thinks of them. They're worried that they're not dressed well enough, not funny enough, not interesting enough. Their energy is tense and closed off. The other person walks in, smiles, and just enjoys themselves. They're comfortable. They're open. They don't need anything from anyone. And guess what? People are naturally drawn to the second person. That's the energy of abundance. It's not about pretending to be happy. It's about genuinely feeling that you are enough. So start practicing gratitude. Start noticing the small blessings. The air in your lungs, the roof over your head, the hands that can work, the mind that can think. These aren't small things. They're everything. And when you appreciate them, you signal to the universe that you're ready for more. Not because you're greedy, but because you're open. Finally, let's talk about the bridge between effort and surrender. Taking aligned action and then letting go. This is the hardest part for most people because we think that if we're not struggling, we're not trying. But that's a lie. Struggle and effort are not the same thing. Struggle comes from resistance. Effort comes from intention. One makes you tired. The other makes you powerful. Seneca said that effort and patience will achieve more than force and anxiety. Force is you trying to break down a door with your shoulder. Patience is you waiting for the door to open because you know the person on the other side is coming. Force is exhausting. Patience is effective. Think about trying to fall asleep. The harder you try to sleep, the more awake you become. But when you relax, when you stop trying, sleep comes naturally. That's the principle. It applies to your career, your relationships, your dreams, everything. You have to do the work. You have to prepare, practice, and show up. But then you have to step back. You have to trust that the seeds you planted are growing, even if you can't see them yet. A farmer doesn't dig up the soil every day to check on the roots. They water, they wait, and they trust the process. And that's what you need to do. Take action, but don't obsess over the results. Care about your work, but don't be attached to the outcome. And most importantly, trust yourself. Trust that if something doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. It's just a redirection. It's life saying not that, but this. And over time, you'll learn that the things that didn't happen are often the best things that ever could have happened to you. So as you walk away from this moment, carry this with you. You are not a victim of life. You are a participant. You are not a passenger. You are the driver. But even a driver has to follow the road. You can't drive wherever you want. You have to follow the path that's laid out. And sometimes that path takes you through valleys. Sometimes it takes you up mountains. But wherever it takes you, you are capable. You are strong. You are enough. The Stoics knew this. They knew that real power doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from mastering yourself. So stop fighting, start flowing, stop gripping, start trusting. And remember, you are exactly where you need to be. Not a moment too soon, not a moment too late. Right here, right now. And that is the most powerful place you could ever be.